Dubai spent decades convincing the world to come. Now it is rewarding the people who already live there for bringing visitors back. Hotel stays, restaurants, attractions, benefits worth thousands of dirhams. And no, Dubai is not simply handing tourists envelopes of cash. The official campaign is more subtle than that. Residents can invite eligible friends or relatives from overseas, and when those visitors arrive, the resident can unlock hospitality and lifestyle rewards. That sounds like clever marketing, but it raises a much bigger question. Why would one of the most famous tourist cities on Earth need its own residents to help bring people back? Because only months earlier, Dubai discovered something uncomfortable. You can build the tallest tower. You can build artificial islands. You can fill a city with luxury hotels and giant malls. But none of that matters if the traveler decides not to get on the plane. And in 2026, for a brief but revealing moment, that decision began changing fast. This story does not begin with a failing destination. It begins at the top. Dubai welcomed 19.59 million international overnight visitors in 2025, its third consecutive record year. That matters because it changes the meaning of everything that followed. Dubai was not trying to rescue a tourism industry that had been slowly fading for years. It entered 2026 with momentum, confidence, and a global brand that looked stronger than ever. For millions of travelers, Dubai had become familiar. You booked the flight. You booked the hotel. You expected the airport to work. You expected the attractions to be open. You expected the trip to happen almost exactly as planned. That kind of predictability is easy to ignore when everything is going well. But tourism is built on it. A family in London does not need to understand Dubai's economic strategy. A couple in Mumbai does not need to study the city's hotel supply. A traveler in Paris does not need to think about regional airspace. They just need to believe the trip will be easy. Then, almost overnight, that assumption became less certain, and that was the first real crack. The shock did not begin inside a hotel lobby. It began before people arrived. Regional conflict disrupted airspace and airline operations across the Gulf. Flight boards changed. Routes disappeared. Passengers were stranded. Families who had already booked started looking at their phones and asking a simple question: should we still go? That question is devastating for a tourism economy because it does not require anyone to dislike Dubai. The beaches can still be beautiful. The hotels can still be luxurious. The restaurants can still be open. The traveler only needs to believe that somewhere else feels easier. On February 28th, data from AirDNA showed 8,450 holiday rental cancellations across the UAE, compared with a nightly average of about 3,100 on the other days of that month. Most of those cancellations were for stays scheduled in March. That was not a theory about fear. That was fear turning into a booking decision. And once a tourist cancels, the damage does not stop with one empty room. The airport transfer disappears. The breakfast table disappears. The beach club booking disappears. The taxi rides disappear. The shopping disappears. The attraction tickets disappear. The tourist may be one person, but economically, that missing person appears in many places at once. Imagine one couple planning 4 nights in Dubai. They cancel the trip. At first, the loss looks simple. One hotel has an empty room. But a tourist does not spend money in only one building. The couple would have taken a ride from the airport. They might have eaten breakfast at the hotel. They might have visited the Burj Khalifa. They might have crossed Dubai Mall. They might have booked dinner overlooking the fountain. They might have spent an afternoon at a beach club. They might have bought something they did not need, because that is part of what a holiday does to people. None of those transactions happens now. Multiply that behavior across thousands of travelers, and the problem escapes the hotel industry. Accor reported that revenue per available room in the UAE fell 9% in the first quarter of 2026. More importantly, the company said the March decline was driven almost entirely by lower occupancy, while price declines remained limited. That distinction matters. Hotels were not simply charging less. Too many customers were not there. Then the effect reached one of Dubai's most recognizable economic stages. Industry sources told Reuters that traffic at Dubai Mall was down around 50% in March. A mall famous for crowds suddenly became evidence of what happens when the international visitor disappears. The empty hotel room had reached the shopping floor. This is where the story becomes bigger than flights, hotels, or malls. Dubai appears to sell physical things: towers, beaches, restaurants, shopping, theme parks, luxury rooms. But every one of those products depends on something invisible being purchased first: certainty. The traveler must believe the plane will leave. The traveler must believe the airport will function. The traveler must believe the holiday will feel normal. The traveler must believe getting home will not become a problem. That belief is not unique to Dubai. Every tourism destination depends on confidence. But Dubai is unusually exposed to it because so much of the city's international appeal is connected to movement. People fly in. People connect through. People spend. People leave. The machine works brilliantly when those decisions feel automatic. The danger appears when they stop feeling automatic. A tourist does not need absolute proof that something bad will happen. They only need enough doubt to choose Spain, or Thailand, or Greece, or simply postpone the holiday. That is why confidence can disappear faster than infrastructure. A hotel can still be standing. A mall can still be open. The skyline can still look perfect. Yet demand can weaken before anything physical has changed. And once that happens, another skyscraper cannot solve the problem. You have to persuade the traveler again. Then came the part that makes this story so unusual. In July, Dubai launched a Dubai Invite. The official idea is simple. A UAE resident nominates eligible friends or relatives who live overseas. Those guests visit Dubai before the campaign deadline. The resident can then unlock exclusive benefits from participating hotels, restaurants, and attractions. This is not a cash payment to tourists. That distinction matters. The title sounds dramatic because the strategy is dramatic, not because Dubai is handing money directly to every visitor. What Dubai is doing is giving residents something valuable if their personal network produces a real visit. Economically, the logic is easy to understand. Give away some value now if it helps create more visitor spending later. But the most interesting part is not the reward. It is the messenger. For years, Dubai could buy advertising space around the world. A billboard can show the skyline. An airline campaign can show the beach. A glossy video can show a perfect hotel room. But after a shock, official advertising has a weakness. Everyone knows it is advertising. A friend who actually lives in Dubai can deliver a very different message. I am here. Life is moving. Come visit. That message carries something a billboard cannot manufacture so easily: trust. This is why a Dubai Invite is more interesting than a normal discount campaign. It turns residents into part of the tourism recovery system. Think about the psychology. If a government tourism board tells you that a destination is ready for visitors, you understand the purpose of the message. It wants your booking. If your sister lives there and tells you to come, the message feels personal. If your friend says the restaurants are busy again, that feels different from a slogan. If someone you trust says they will meet you at the airport, uncertainty shrinks. The resident is not replacing official marketing. The resident is adding social proof to it. And that tells us something important about the problem Dubai was trying to solve. This was never only about making a hotel cheaper. It was about rebuilding the feeling that the trip was normal again. The reward gets attention. The relationship does the convincing. That is a smart strategy. It is also revealing, because it shows how tourism demand can become personal after a crisis. Dubai does not only need people to know the city exists. Everyone already knows that. It needs people to feel comfortable choosing it now. Those are very different marketing problems. One is about awareness. The other is about reassurance. And reassurance becomes especially valuable when the damage has already spread beyond tourism. By spring, the pressure was no longer confined to holiday bookings. Luxury retail was feeling it. Hotels were feeling it. Travel companies were feeling it. Businesses that depended on the constant movement of international customers were suddenly exposed to the same missing person: the tourist. That is why Dubai's response became broader. Reuters reported that Dubai's top officials gathered hundreds of business leaders in March to discuss how to limit the economic damage. According to people who attended, one of the questions being asked was direct. What should we do to get tourists back? That question matters more than almost any statistic in this story. It tells you what the city itself understood. Tourism was not a decorative layer sitting on top of Dubai's economy. It was connected to retail, hospitality, aviation, restaurants, property confidence, and the wider image of the city as a global hub. Dubai later pledged billions of dirhams in support, focused mainly on sectors including tourism and retail. Again, the number is not the real story. The scale of the response is. A city famous for moving quickly was now mobilizing public officials, business leaders, financial support, marketing, and residents around the same broad objective: restore confidence, restore movement, restore spending. And this is where Dubai's success becomes part of the risk. The city has spent years making tourism feel connected to everything else. A visitor can land, shop, dine, stay, invest, attend an event, and leave without ever feeling that these activities belong to separate industries. That integration is a strength when demand is rising. Money moves quickly from one part of the city to another. But the same connections can transmit weakness. If fewer visitors arrive, the effect can move from hotel rooms into retail, transport, entertainment, and business sentiment. The system does not need every sector to fail. It only needs enough customers to hesitate at the same time. That is why restoring tourism confidence became much more than a marketing problem. The tourism machine had not disappeared, but it was no longer running on autopilot. Tourism crises can be deceptive because the buildings do not vanish. When a factory closes, you can often see the gate shut. When a road fails, you can see the traffic stop. But when tourism confidence weakens, the infrastructure can look completely normal. The hotel lights are still on. The lobby is polished. The mall is air-conditioned. The restaurant tables are set. The aircraft are still painted in the same colors. What changes is the decision happening thousands of kilometers away. A family chooses another destination. A company delays a conference. A couple waits until winter. A traveler decides the connection feels too uncertain. Nothing dramatic happens in Dubai at that exact moment. But a future customer disappears. That is what makes the system difficult to defend. Dubai can maintain a road. It can repair a terminal. It can renovate a hotel. It can upgrade a mall. Confidence is different. It lives in millions of private decisions. And those decisions can change faster than a city can build. This is the deeper tourism trap. Dubai has enormous control over the experience after a visitor arrives. It has much less control over the fear, headlines, airspace decisions, travel warnings, and regional events that influence whether the visitor arrives at all. If this were simply a story about Dubai collapsing, the evidence would be easy to present. Visitors cancel, hotels weaken, malls lose traffic, government responds. End of story. But that would also be misleading, because by summer, signs of recovery were appearing. In late July, Accor said occupancy rates in the UAE had improved significantly during the second quarter. It also said Dubai had returned to year-on-year growth in July. That matters. The tourists were not gone forever. The machine was not permanently broken. Dubai was recovering. And this is exactly where the story becomes more interesting, because a recovery does not erase what the crisis revealed. It proves the system can fight back, but it also shows how quickly the system had to fight. Within months, Dubai moved from record tourism to cancellations, weaker hotel demand, damaged retail traffic, business support, confidence campaigns, and a resident referral program. Then demand began returning. That is impressive resilience. But resilience is not the same thing as invulnerability. A bridge can survive a storm and still reveal where its weakest joints are. Dubai's tourism model survived a shock. The shock revealed that one of its weakest joints is not made of steel or concrete. It is confidence. Think about what Dubai can control. It can build more hotel rooms. It can make the airport larger. It can open another attraction. It can add restaurants. It can create events. It can improve roads. It can spend more on advertising. It can offer incentives. It can move faster than most cities when a problem appears. But there is one thing it cannot command. A tourist cannot be ordered to feel safe. A family cannot be forced to believe the trip will be easy. An investor cannot be instructed to ignore uncertainty. A traveler always has another option. That is the structural vulnerability hiding beneath Dubai's tourism success. The city competes not only against other destinations, it competes against hesitation. And hesitation is cheap. Canceling a booking can take seconds. Choosing another beach can take minutes. Changing a holiday from Dubai to somewhere else does not require the skyline to fail. It only requires the alternative to feel simpler. That is why the recovery itself should not make this story disappear. The important question is not whether Dubai can recover from one shock. It clearly can recover. The question is, what happens if confidence has to be rebuilt again? And again, and again. At what point does maintaining demand become more expensive than creating it was in the first place? Dubai's tourism machine rests on three promises. First, you can get here. Second, you will feel comfortable being here. Third, the experience will justify the money you spend. Dubai has spent decades perfecting the third promise. Luxury hotels, shopping, entertainment, service, beaches, spectacle. It has also built one of the world's most connected aviation systems around the first. But the second promise is more fragile. Feeling comfortable is partly emotional. It depends on what travelers see on television. It depends on what governments say in travel advice. It depends on what airlines do. It depends on what friends tell each other. It depends on whether uncertainty feels temporary or persistent. That means Dubai can control almost every detail of the visitor experience once the tourist arrives. Its greatest vulnerability exists before the tourist boards the plane. This is why a Dubai invite matters. The campaign is not evidence that Dubai tourism has collapsed. It is evidence that Dubai understands how valuable confidence has become. Instead of waiting passively for that confidence to return, the city is trying to accelerate it. That is smart. But smart responses often reveal the shape of the danger they are designed to solve. The reward tells us the customer matters. The referral tells us trust matters. The timing tells us recovery matters. And the entire campaign tells us that even a record-breaking tourism city cannot take demand for granted. Dubai has always been good at making the impossible look purchasable. Need more coastline? Build an island. Need a global landmark? Build higher. Need more passengers? Expand the airport. Need more reasons to visit? Create another attraction. That ability to turn money, engineering, and ambition into physical results is one of the reasons Dubai became Dubai. But tourism contains a limit that engineering cannot remove. The traveler has to choose you. That choice happens far from the skyline. It happens at a kitchen table while a family discusses summer plans. It happens on a phone when someone checks flight changes. It happens when a friend sends a message. It happens when a traveler compares one destination with another and asks which one feels easier. Dubai can influence that decision. It can advertise. It can reassure. It can reward. It can mobilize businesses. It can ask residents to invite the people they love. And, as the summer recovery suggests, those efforts can work. But the events of 2026 exposed something worth remembering. Dubai's tourism strength is real. So is its dependence on confidence. The city can build a tower designed to stand for generations. Tourist confidence does not work like that. It can weaken in days. It can return in months. And it may need to be earned again after every major shock. So the real story behind Dubai rewarding residents to bring visitors back is not that the city is paying people because nobody wants to come. That is too simple, and the evidence does not support it. The real story is more interesting. A record-breaking tourism machine was forced to discover how quickly demand can become uncertain. Dubai responded the way Dubai often responds: fast, expensively, creatively, and with enormous confidence in its ability to recover. For now, that recovery appears to be happening. But the next test will not be whether Dubai can build something new. It will be whether millions of travelers continue believing that the easiest decision is still to come. If you enjoy documentaries that look beyond Dubai's skyline and examine the systems, risks, and economic pressures underneath it, subscribe and join me for the next story. And tell me what you think. Is a Dubai invite simply smart tourism marketing, or does it reveal a deeper vulnerability in the way global destinations depend on confidence? This video is an independent documentary analysis based on publicly available information and reporting available at the time of production. It does not claim that Dubai is currently collapsing, that tourists have stopped visiting, or that the city is directly paying cash to tourists. Tourism conditions can change quickly, and later data may show further recovery or renewed pressure. The goal here is to examine how a major tourism economy responded to an unusual shock, not to predict disaster or encourage fear.